turn the microphone and desktop audio on. Hello everyone, this is Picking Brains. My name is Charlie, and I am currently in university in the middle of nowhere.
Woo! Yeah, Charlie. Woo. Right, guys, I'm Nathan. I am really not good at coming up with things on the spot, but I'm supposed to be the best at it.
Okay, yeah, go next.
Brilliant. Hi guys, I'm Megan, and quick fact, if it wasn't for Nathan and a company called Wrinkles the Scare Maze, I would not be sitting here right now and I would not have met the awesome Correct Zombie Infection, so thank you, Nathan.
Thank you, Nathan.
My name is Jake, and I have a massive dog called Scooby.
Hold on. Sorry, carry on.
Mini heart attack there.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Hi. Hi guys, my name's Abby. I'm an event manager at ZI. The other day, I gave CPR to somebody and they survived.
Yay!
I brought someone back from the dead, kind of.
That is
There we go.
Shut up.
That's a range of interesting facts. Jake, you gave me a heart attack there. You were like, yeah,
no.
my name's Jake and I've got a big dog.
No, he said I've got a massive.
Oh,
Massive.
a massive dog.
Show us.
It was.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Oh no, that was right.
disgusting.
Oh,
Right,
yeah,
so
Disgusting.
today we are talking about clowns and vampires. How exciting!
Yeah.
So to kick it off, clowns.
Yeah.
Why are they so scary, man?
Who needs them?
So I've been thinking about this today, and I think it is just because you don't know who is behind that mask. Like,
Yeah.
it could be somebody that you know, it could be somebody just having a laugh, or it could be somebody that actually might want to kill you. You don't know who's behind there. Like when me and my boyfriend 2 years ago, we went to Download Festival, and for about 4 hours one night we put full clown costumes on, full masks, and we just terrorized the place, and it was hilarious. We didn't say a word 4 hours, and it was great.
Oh, that sounds hilarious.
But people were really scared because they didn't know who was behind it. They didn't know it was me, all cute and that. They probably thought it was
Some absolute nutter.
Some killer.
Yeah.
I actually think maybe it's down to the fact that Stephen King's It terrified a generation.
Fair enough. Could be.
absolutely.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it comes down to sort of a combination of a bit like what you said, Ab. But you've also got when it's face paint, that's a fake smile.
Oh god, yeah.
It doesn't matter how that person's actually feeling, they have this fake smile. And I think that's part of what makes them so creepy. Because even when they're like in It, when he's like evil, he's still got this big fake smile on his face as well.
Yes.
And I think there's also an element of the same reason things like dolls and that kind of stuff are creepy.
Oh.
They're almost supposed to be overly nice. And then they fall into this category where they then become uncomfortable.
Yeah, they're meant to make you happy. They're meant to be like clowns are meant to cheer you up and make you happy. But we know that's not always true.
But forced happiness is the worst kind of happiness.
Because you know it's a lie, and that's what makes it scary.
Yeah.
Plus, they become their own character as well when you see these clowns, the way they move, the way they dance, and everything. But even like sad clowns as well, you can never really understand the person behind them because they alienate themselves. It's makeup and it's costume, and this completely different character comes across. And I think whether it's a sad clown or an over happy, excited one, it's terrifying, absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
I don't find the sad clowns scary. I when I was growing up was absolutely terrified of clowns. and it was actually it that made me not scared of them.
Interesting.
Okay.
Like it was like
Good.
weird. What's it called when you force people to do stuff? What's that one called? Confrontation therapy.
Mm.
Where it was like I
Oh,
watched it and it was meant to be a scary clown, and they suddenly weren't scary anymore. I remember going
Okay.
to.
Oh.
I went to the circus, and a clown tried to hand me a balloon, and I literally screamed in his face and refused to have the balloon off him. And
How old were you, Nath?
27. No,
I was gonna say that. I was like mid-20s.
no, I was about 5 or 6, and then my nan had the balloon off the clown for me, and I refused to hold the balloon all the way home just in case
Oh,
Evil
wow.
because I
balloon,
was
yeah, no
scared of
doubt.
it.
Evil
And
balloon.
Oh,
yeah, I was absolutely
Crazy.
terrified of them.
yeah. And then there was that killer clown craze like a few years ago
Oh,
where
yeah.
all these crazy idiots were going around and terrorizing people, and that made it worse.
That was all kicked off by the Northampton clown. Do we know about him?
No.
No.
So what he did, he wasn't like an evil clown or anything. He was just weird. It was a guy. Nobody actually knows who he was. They tried to track him down. The police tried to track him down because people were then getting creeped out by him. And he would just put on a full clown costume, not an evil clown costume, just a full clown costume. And he would just go and stand at the end of a street. It would be any random street, and it's turned into like Pokemon Go before there was Pokemon Go.
Hmm.
People would try
Mm.
and find him and take a picture of him and post a picture of him up, and he would just randomly go and stand somewhere for 20 minutes on an evening and
Just
see how
something
many
to do,
people
isn't
took
it?
pictures of him up. Yeah,
That's
but
weird.
people
Something
started
to
to
do.
get freaked out by him because it was one of those things where the rumor mill starts going, and it was like, oh yeah, he's actually kidnapping children. It's like there's no children have been kidnapped in the area whatsoever. Stop lying. And everyone's like, oh well, I heard he was coming around to try and murder grannies, and like by the end he was like some mass serial killer that was robbing people, and he was working for the mafia by the end of it because the rumors just kept getting more
the
and more.
clown mafia.
So
Crazy.
Charlie, you said about this guy who is very similar, Wrinkles the Clown, who I looked up earlier because I've never actually heard about him
Yeah.
before, and he's very similar to what Nath just said. How
Yeah.
although he was more public about it, you could actually hire him
Yeah. So you can.
to.
Yeah.
It's not a good idea.
Wrinkles.
No, it sounds great.
Yeah. So Wrinkles the Clown is a clown where you can hire him to basically. It was originally to scare your kids.
The
But
naughty
then,
kids.
yeah, naughty kids.
You don't eat your
And-
dinner, the clown will get you.
Yeah,
That's
like,
it.
literally that.
Man.
Like, and then people would like it became a big thing, and people would ring this number. And like if you like, it's a legit number you can ring, and it's like, "Hi,
Yeah.
this is Wrinkles the Clown," and it's like weird. There's a documentary on Netflix about him.
Yeah.
Like he's a strange fellow.
I want to see that.
I
I
just
think also. So
I suppose it's better than just like if your kids aren't eating their vegetables or if they're not behaving, it's better than saying, be nice and I'll take you for a Big Mac or a Happy Meal.
They already
Instead,
don't
they'll
want to
say,
eat. Why are you bribing them
be
with food?
nice or I'll get wrinkles on ya. I like that better.
God.
That's my kind of parenting.
my mom's
Don't do as
absolutely
you're told,
terrified
even
of
though
clowns.
sleep.
My mom's terrified of clowns, and she has been since she was young. Because when she was younger, she snuck into the living room late at night and decided to watch Killer Clowns because all her
From
friends were
outside.
watching it. She's been
Killer Clowns
terrified
of
of it ever
Outer
since.
Space.
we discussed
Yeah,
that
Killer Clowns
in
at
last
Outer
week's
Space.
You
podcast.
did.
It's hilarious.
It's
It is.
such a good film.
It's so funny.
Stupid.
And
You
all
watch
the,
it,
all the
that's
special
all.
effects are like made. I love it.
Um,
So
80s.
Greg just said we should just hire Nathan instead of the killer clown.
funny.
How do I see what people are saying?
He does hire me, or is he not aware of that?
Yeah, we are. If you do scare your kids with a clown, you will like mentally scar them. That is true.
And they won't get fat.
Hold on.
Wait, what?
Whoa. Where did you make that connection?
Oh no! Don't mind me. Don't
Because
mind
they
me.
won't eat pies.
Because then you're not. Because then instead of saying, "Oh, be good," I'll give you some sweets. So be good. I'll get
Okay.
wrinkles on you.
I see where
What's
you're
wrong
coming
with
from now.
Santa's watching?
See, I was
Because
thinking it would make them fat, if anything, because it'd be like, eat your food or wrinkles is coming. And then they'll be like, just scoffing it, going, can I have seconds? I need more. If I eat enough today and I'm not hungry tomorrow, at least he might not come because I ate enough today to make up for it.
yeah, you got to teach kids when they're full. They're full.
Touche.
Unless there's a killer clown coming, in which case you're never full. Keep eating.
No. Oh my goodness. But anyway, with this Wrinkles the Clown, it first appeared in a video. Well, he started off in Naples, Florida, and he first appeared in a video uploaded to YouTube in 2015, where he emerged from beneath a young girl's bed in the middle of a night.
Oh, I've seen that.
Okay.
And if you Google Wrinkles the Clown, right, he's literally got this really droopy face, like dark black eyes, and it's just, like it scares me thinking about it.
Oh, yeah. I know who this is. I remember him.
He's like an old man as well, like an old man.
Why would you hire someone like that to scare your children?
Scare your kids.
So much could go wrong.
I'm not joking. I'm almost at that point. My parents will not do as they're told. I've just spent the last I've just spent the last 2.5 hours trying to get them to go to bed. Like,
Wrinkles the Clown.
If I went, mate, I swear down, if you don't go to bed, they would not get out of that bed again.
I'll scare them for you, Dave.
It's a good.
I'll scare them.
Good business venture.
Yeah. They call me Stabby Abby.
That's
That's
how you're going to introduce yourself next podcast. Hi guys, it's Stabby Abby.
Stabby Abby here.
We're after clown names, not your street name. Like,
God. Who won't be alive, Greg? The kids after being scared, or the clown? Because I looked it up. He's like an old man as well, and yeah, Greg's just said exactly what I was thinking. It's pedo.
Do you think he's actually been around for a while? It's only social media that's made him
Yeah.
popular and made him.
There's got to be a risk that comes with that job as well, like the risk of being attacked
caught
by reflex and being killed by reflex. I know if a
From
clown
little
came out
kids.
and come under, yeah, kids can bite. I know if a clown
There's
came out
also
and
the
like-
risk of being arrested for being a pedo.
That's true. I can't see the comments. How do I do that?
Go onto the stream.
It's fine. I can't.
So yeah. So that's Wrinkles the Clown for you there. He's a bit weird. Would you ever do something like that? Would you ever get involved with the pranks? Like the killer clown pranks, or scare your like friends, kids for money or whatever?
if you pay me enough, I'll do it. I'm down for that.
Yeah.
But in terms of the pranks, I think we've definitely got it a lot easier here in the UK than they did in America. There's no chance I would be dressing up in any situation where somebody might think they're threatened in America, because they all have guns.
Hell no.
Well, it was in America too.
I
The
know,
killer
that's what I'm
clowns
saying.
are
There's
there.
no way I would do it. No way in hell. I would be like,
get-
right,
you get
I know what
shot.
I'm going to do. I'm going to make somebody think I'm going to murder them, because they just.
Pull out a Glock.
That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of risk going into
Whereas if you're in the UK, all you've got to worry about is chaffs. So you're all right, and yeah.
Whoa. Yeah.
I don't think I could outrun a staffy though. So.
Hell no.
Crikey. I think
No, I would, but I'd just be careful with who I do it on. Because if I know that they're gonna lash out, I'll just be like, hell no.
I'd do it to a friend. I don't think I'd do it to strangers.
I mean, I think
Nah.
essentially what we do is a controlled version of it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they know they're gonna get scared. Well, fingers crossed. So yeah. Well, let's get away from pervy clowns.
I'm just looking at Wrinkles.
Yeah.
He's got like just a black mesh over those because you can't actually see his eyes through it.
I'm curious now. I think it's dark makeup.
Yeah, but you'd
Yeah,
see
it's
the whites
definitely a
of his
mesh.
eyes still, wouldn't you? Surely.
I'm
definitely a mesh.
I've been
inspecting a
staring at this
closer look.
creepy old bastard for far too long now.
I'm not even gonna look. I'm just like, nah.
It's gotta be mesh, cause yeah, you can't see inside his eyeballs. Oh, he's proper weird. He is. I think what? What?
Oh, it's proper weird. He is.
But the thing is, what scares? I don't know what it is. What scares me like the most about seeing that stuff is like when it's recorded on like really like shitty cameras. Like when it's high definition, I'm like, yeah, like fucking whatever. But for some reason, when it's really shitty quality, I'm like, whoa, that's real, man. That's well scary.
There's an app for that, Charlie.
There's something about kind of like the retro style filming things when it is a bit choppy.
Yeah.
Because it's the bits that you don't see that you kind of get weirded out by because you build up your own thing.
Yeah.
Like when you see the CCTV of things and it's like it's like, well, what did they do from there to there? That's the bit I don't like.
Thank you, Lee, for the bits and the host. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lee.
Thanks, Lee.
Yeah, it's the CCTV's like seeing like things jumping around. It's freaky.
Plus, it eliminates the possibility that it could be edited. If you look at it and you think that's a natural recording.
Yeah, not anymore.
Not like high definition.
It's hard to like edit grainy video without it like looking strange. I'd thank you, Nat, for hosting, but you are literally right on the call with us right now.
Well, I'm going for it. I'm hoping it does something.
I've shared in like 3 different places. Right, moving on to the next topic.
Ooh.
Vampires. Could they be real? Could they be real?
I reckon Nicolas Cage is a vampire.
Why?
No, he'd be a vampire hunter, and we know it.
No, he's
he has.
Hang on.
In his home, he has a closet just
bet he does.
full
Where he
of
sleeps.
like wooden stakes and crossbows and all of that.
So
And he
does
probably doesn't
Kerry.
even believe in
Serious?
that.
So does Kerry.
Yeah, she's a vampire hunter.
They're props.
She's a vampire hunter.
Yeah.
She's also a vampire. I've seen her as a vampire.
But
I think that vampires wouldn't bother with the modern day human. I mean, it's all good, attacking a medieval person that hasn't got a gun. But these days,
vampires don't
back
die
in
from
medieval
guns.
times, they'd have a feast.
you can you? No, I was about to ask a really stupid question. I was like, can you have wooden bullets?
You could have silver bullets.
Yeah, but
Yes,
that's
silver.
werewolves.
Werewolves, Jake. Wrong genre.
Silver still affects them. Have you seen Dracula Untold?
No.
Thank you.
All right,
Watch Dracula.
okay.
It's an awesome film.
It is.
Well, okay, you could shoot them with silver bullets and then like incapacitate them and.
Look at that.
Why are you? Guys, Nicolas Cage.
The proof is there.
Is a vampire.
But
That's
why
a
would he
picture-
work?
that
Why
other
would he
guy's
risk
a
being
picture from
famous?
Ever and forever ago. Because
Yeah, the
mate,
proof
if you're
is
gonna
there.
live
Yeah.
forever,
No
just do a
doubt.
bit of everything, innit?
Yeah, I mean, true. I bet he's done loads of things. Like this is the last thing on his list, is to be.
Pretend to be a
I'm going for
Hollywood
Volta.
star.
Oh, Lee says they've got blood banks like on Blade.
Oh, that. Maybe they're secretly running the world, an evil corporation of vampires.
But they're also part lizard, yeah?
Yeah, that's my theory, guys.
But they're part lizard.
It's
I'm not
a
actually
long.
sure.
How could somebody live on just blood? It's just not.
What do they?
You can get vitamins
Imagine.
from blood, can't you?
Probably.
Well,
You can get
the whole
iron.
the whole conception of them, it was because of Bram Stoker, and he took inspiration from Vlad the Impaler, who was known to behead his victims, put their heads on spikes, and then drink their
Yeah.
blood because he was a nut job. And apparently they
And I bet
tried
he
to
didn't go
kill him
out in
and
the
he
day,
came
did
back.
he?
Yeah. And didn't some of it come from when they excavated some graves of people that hadn't been buried for that long? They were all like, there was no blood left in them, so they were trying to say that vampires had been and sucked all the blood out of them.
Or they had their neck cut and hung it down and
Trained.
Ooh,
Yeah.
There's
It
crazy.
just
shit.
reminds me.
I
There
said
is
all
like genuine evidence that they exist. Like, what? Why are you laughing for? Huh?
Nathan
genuine
straight
evidence,
away.
Charlie. Go on.
Like there've been graves that have been found that have like their teeth are like points, but they've not been chiseled down. They're like
Avril
longer.
Lavigne's got that kind of teeth.
No, but they're
I've
like
got mine.
longer. They're longer
Okay.
than
I got them.
It's an anomaly.
an
This is.
anomaly.
Hang on.
There you go. Megan's a vampire.
I don't have them.
Yeah.
Check me
This
out.
Got mine
is this is
taken
now
out.
also it's a fad in China now that people are getting
Yeah, they chisel
these-
them down.
chisel them down or have like new implants put in of
Yeah.
vampire teeth.
So these guys on my screen now, these were graves that they found.
What is that? A
Yeah.
massive nose?
No, it's a rock. They were burying people with rocks jammed in their mouths, and stakes through their heart and stuff. And the idea was the
Jesus.
rock was jammed in their mouth, so if they did come back to life, because they were vampires, they couldn't bite anybody because they had a rock in their mouth. I don't know why they wouldn't just take it out.
It's like, I know they can't remove the rock. It's just the rock is there.
It's a case of rock in the mouth.
Saz says that vampires are real, and Ash says that she used to believe it as a kid. So
And there are cults and people who believe they're vampires and they
Oh, yeah.
actually drink human blood.
yeah, there's
Yeah, but they also eat food, don't they?
So
yeah.
they eat food.
It's more of a lifestyle to them than
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so vampires exist, but not the vampires that like we imagine. It's not people who, burn in the sun. It's people who are living their life, drinking blood.
Plus, that's just the modern interpretation that there's
Yeah.
vampires and vampire-like creatures in all sorts of cultures, in China and Scandinavia and all sorts of places.
Yeah.
They all differ. It's just the blood drinking part that stays the same,
So
and the fact
what's
that it's supernatural.
what's scary about a vampire then? Because we spoke about what's scary about a clown. What do you guys think is the scariest bit of a vampire?
I think it's because
Well-
it's so strong and like it's dead and it's like an unstoppable force,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Darkness
that
in the
vampires
sun.
were dead. I thought they had eternal life.
But are we talking Dracula or 30 Days a Night vampires?
I'll go
Which
with
ones are we
Dracula because
talking?
that's the one I know.
I was going Twilight.
No,
No,
they're not
Lost,
scary.
Twilight. bleh.
They are terrifying.
Okay, let's go Dracula. Can they not hypnotize you and make you do shit?
Oh yeah, they
They
can.
can seduce you
Compulsion.
for sure. Vampires are sexy, aren't they? Isn't
Compulsion.
that a thing?
Mm-hmm.
You can have ugly
Oh,
vampires though.
The whole thing about modern vampires is that they're attractive to the opposite sex, which is a predatory thing. So that they're able to get prey easier because they release pheromones and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
also compulsion, so they're able to control their victims and make their victims forget.
Ah.
Because the less they have to kill, the less attention they get.
You know quite
Yeah,
a lot about vampires
Jake.
there,
You know a lot
JP.
about this modern day
This
vampire
is
situation.
suspicious.
Walking encyclopedia.
God. My dad bought me a book, a vampire book, and it was all these different vampires in different cultures, and I got obsessed with it
Right.
for quite a while.
Mhm.
And yeah, there's it originated as vampires looking like, a theory is that the vampires looked more and more disgusting, and they looked more like creatures than they did humans. but to evolve with humans growing more and more in population, becoming less and less afraid, they had to evolve themselves as well. So they evolved to look more like us, so they could blend in easier, and so that they wouldn't be hunted to extinction because we were able to then fight back and stuff like that.
Sorry, I did a really bad fart and it made me gag. I literally went.
Charlie.
Hello.
Speaking of smells, so
Yeah.
why do vampires not like garlic? What's that about, Jake? Do you know?
What's that about?
When
You read the
I
book.
looked into it, there were several vampires react in very different ways. Like humans have different allergies. It's just the whole thing about garlic is theorized that it came from one particular vampire who was quite notorious, quite infamous, who was allergic to garlic and it was quite deadly to him, and that became a norm for all of them, that they were like, oh, this must work on every vampire, but it doesn't. It's like the whole thing about there's another one where it's like they have to stop and count rice, which is something that's not just in vampires, it's in other creatures
spirits
as well,
like yeah,
leprechauns and all that.
What's this? You have to count rice.
So you put rice or salt on your windowsill at night. So basically, the spirits, before they come in, they're compelled to count the rice or salt, and by the time they finish counting, it'll be morning, and they can't enter at night.
Awesome.
Oh.
And you have to welcome a vampire into your house, so that's fine. You just stay in your house. Be like, well, you're not coming in.
I'd just be like, bye, bitch, you're not
gonna-
coming in
yeah.
here.
And they'll be like, but I want to. And then you'd be like, okay,
They'll be like,
okay,
no,
come on in,
But
come on in.
I want to suck
You
your
got me.
blood.
That definitely.
I want to suck your blood. You're like, okay, go on
Blah,
then.
blah, blah.
Do it.
Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
I just looked up this garlic thing, right?
I think before you jump onto it, one of the theories on that garlic thing was that actually, same as the not being visible in mirrors thing, it's actually just a lie that was circulated by vampires so that people would try them and go, oh no, you do have a reflection. You're not really you're not a vampire, even though they actually are.
Oh, that's clever.
That's smart.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, garlic kills us, and they're like, eat some garlic, and you go, all right, that.
I think that's what's so terrifying about them, the fact that they are clever, if not more clever than humans. That's what's terrifying.
If you've been alive for thousands of years, you're going to be a genius. You're going to have read every book, you know. You're going to be very, very, very clever.
You'll have so much knowledge, and you'll know how the world works, and you'll be able to navigate it really easily. And just it'll be really creepy. And if you just bumped into one of them, they just know like that.
Yeah, it'd be weird.
What to do?
And they tell you stories like, so I was drinking whiskey with Shakespeare, and got a bit crazy.
Got a bit mad.
I love an old-fashioned with this person, and then this happened.
I love like all the vampire stories and shows you see when they're all hung out with like previous celebs from the past. It's like all these vampires were like living in the same towns, in the same areas, traveling like were they a group of people going, hey, yo, let's go to London. I heard this guy named Shakespeare's writing a play. Let's go chill out with him. And then just hop around all together and all have the same stories and people they met.
Yeah. Right, quick question just before we go on. If all of us were vampires, who would we want to hang out with, like from the past, like celebrity-wise? Who would you pick to hang out with?
Right, so if I was born like forever ago.
Yeah.
And you were a vampire, what celebrity would you want to hang out with the most?
Queen Elizabeth I.
Ooh!
Because she is a bad mother.
Hell
I
yeah.
don't know who I'd hang
That
out
cooked
with.
out when you said the F word then, or did you?
That's because I didn't. I actually censored myself.
Whoa. It's okay, guys. This is an 18+ channel. You can, in fact, say the F word.
Fuck.
There you go.
Cool.
Proud of y'all.
I think I'd hang out with Freddie Mercury.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
Whew.
since I grew up on Queen and their music, and then I was devastated when I found out Freddie had died. And I'm just like, God damn it. And I'm just like, go back. Because I've always wanted to go back. If I was told you can go back in time, I'd go to Live Aid and see him.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh,
yeah.
yes.
I'd hang with Freddie.
So we've had 2 queens.
Darling.
Guy Fawkes.
Oh, that's
Ooh.
difficult.
Ash says David
So
Bowie.
many.
Good choice. Good
Oh.
choice.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Oh my gosh.
In terms of recent history,
Mm.
I'd go back and hang out with Robin Williams, I reckon.
I was
I'm
thinking that,
just
you know.
about to say that.
I was thinking that.
Now I've got to change my answer.
Loads of royalty.
Yes. I do know. I think, yeah. I'd go, hold on. Let me, I'd hang out with, probably James Buckingham, who was busy mates with King Charles II, just because the amount of crazy shit they got up to. I'm a history nerd
Royalty.
here, but they were
Me too, man.
mental.
Um,
Mental.
Jake,
I
it's
don't-
all on you now.
I'd have to say either Sarah Kane, because she's one of my favourite authors of all time.
Oh, Charlie's
or-
excited. Bam!
Yo.
Yeah,
I'm currently, I'm going to
Or,
read Blasted soon.
which is awesome. Messed up, but awesome. If not Sarah Kane, Jack the Ripper. I want to see Jack the Ripper.
Oh, yeah!
Oh.
But how would you know who it is to hang out with them?
I want
Is it might be a
to
vampire?
Oh, yeah, you'd be awake at night, wouldn't you?
I want to change my
Yeah.
answer. I want to hang out with Jesus.
Oh, my
Jesus.
gosh.
I was gonna say the Buddha.
Jesus.
The Buddha, Siddha.
Actually, I want to hang out with his mom. I want to see what really went down.
Was his mum?
Jesus' mum.
Just chilling out with Mary.
Mate, what if you were the reason? You were the reason Jesus was conceived. Jesus was actually a vampire.
Vampires can't do that, though, can they?
No. Well, have you seen
No.
Twilight?
You see
Yeah, but I thought
Twilight.
we were discounting them because
Okay,
they
yeah.
sparkle.
Yeah, I was doing it for the joke.
Okay.
That's-
Jake, what are you...
I heard
What
that
the
from
hell?
I'm trying. I had to move my laptop off my lap to get that Sarah Kane book, and then no one acknowledged that I had it.
Oh,
Oh
then I
yeah,
had to
it was
slowly-
great.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It was real good. It had pages and everything.
Yeah.
Junior.
Yeah.
Ash
Yeah,
did
thank you.
Sarah
I really
Kane
like- I
as
really like
her
the way it
end of
opened
year
up.
play.
Oh, Psychosis. Oh, I love that. It's my favorite. My favorite ever. Absolutely
So-
love that.
It's cool.
I don't know why
Guys, I
he's
need a really
sending
quick
me
wee.
this, but Jake sent me.
Yeah,
What is that?
that is
vampire.
in African folklore. That is a vampire. They used to be their incarnation of vampires would hang from the trees. They'd be a lot zombie-like, but more powerful, more fast, more
See,
intelligent. And they'd
that's
hang
a
from
lot-
trees, wait for you to go past, and grab you
That's
and
mad.
take you off.
Previously about things on the last podcast. I said about the Wendigo. That's basically
Ooh.
what the Wendigo is. He's like a guy that hides in the trees and then grabs you and eats you.
Wendigo is created when someone on ceremonial ground commits cannibalism. They
Mhm.
become a Wendigo, and they have the ability to basically take on the voice of their victims. So
Ah.
they will lure people in by shouting for help, and then they grab you and kill you, and they were like quick, but they're blind, they can't see, so they only react to sound.
But they're
That's
real clever.
scary. I just literally
I
had to
love
Google
myths
it
and
because I
legends.
didn't know what a Wendigo was. And then I realised that it was in Until Dawn.
Yeah, those.
Mm.
And they're in Supernatural as well, and they're in
Mm.
Charmed
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
and stuff like that.
Supernatural man.
I
One of
have
my
watched
favourite
Supernatural.
episodes. They have vampires in Supernatural, actually.
They do.
Yep.
But they're
Mhm.
all like sexy biker vampires.
Oh no.
If I was a vampire, I'd definitely be a sexy biker vampire.
Would you?
Yeah, 100%.
I wouldn't.
I
I'd
can
be a
kind
clown.
of see it.
I'd be in leathers and no helmet, riding a Harley.
I would
You know,
be like, I'd royalty. Like, I'd dress like royalty, even if I lived in a studio flat.
a council house.
Why
Yeah.
did you do that anyway?
Because
Not as cool when you're a vampire.
it's
There's that
cool.
guy in London that does it. Have you seen him?
Yeah, I
He's
have.
like, I don't want to dress like normal people. He just wears like really fancy Tudor clothes or something.
Mm.
Have
That's
you
expensive.
ever seen the originals? It's like a spin-off show from Vampire Diaries.
Mm-mm.
I would definitely be like Elijah from that show. He just dresses in suits all the time. He looks immaculate all the time. I'd want to dress like that. I would want to act like that if I was a vampire.
What about True Blood?
I
Never
remember
watched
seeing
it.
True Blood. Yeah,
Never seen it.
it's a good show.
Never seen it.
Not seen it.
I'll put it on my watch list.
It's a vampire show.
It's
Good
all
show.
right.
Pretty cool.
Lots of boobs in it though.
Yeah, there is a lot of nudity in True Blood.
Oh,
Unnecessary boobs as well.
Mhm.
Like even more unnecessary
Lovely.
sometimes.
No boob is unnecessary.
No, it's unnecessary. Like, it just for no reason there'll be a vampire just going at it.
Yeah, it is literally like that.
It's for the plot.
No, it's not.
It's character building.
It's not even the main character. In one of the episodes, it's literally just like while the opening credits come up, it's just a vampire going like he's moving so quick with like two heads. And then you never see that vampire or the person that he was having sex with ever again. But it was just in the opening credits bit for no apparent reason.
That's weird.
we've gone so off topic.
It's vampires.
Right, speaking of
How do you
vampires,
think vampires have sex?
I do no.
Speaking of vampires,
Speaking of vampires,
Have you heard of what's nicknamed as the vampire disease, where they're allergic to sunlight? They're extremely pale, and they literally only have like their like I want to say carnivore teeth.
Incisors.
All
Yeah.
I'm saying is, I've only seen Charlie at night. She's pretty
canines.
She's got
Yeah,
those-
canines, not incisors.
No.
Canines.
It's very odd that those two things are symptoms of one disease. That's
It's called
Oh, yeah,
porphyria. Porphyria?
wow.
yeah, I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, so they have like limited hair, like they don't have much hair.
Ah.
They are really, really
More that
pale,
on the
and they
side.
literally only have their two front teeth. Yeah, but they're
Ooh.
allergic to sun, so if they either stay inside or they like just wear like entire layers, sun cream, like
How many people in the world have that disease? Can you find out?
I will look it up. Many
That's been
people.
something
It's
rare.
something very, very rare.
It is rare. It is very rare.
Mm.
I remember seeing it on this. Hold on a minute. I've just seen the statistic for it, and this is the most wildest, like, unspecific statistic. It goes the exact prevalence of the disease is unknown, but it probably ranges from 1 in 500 to 1 in 50,000.
Oh,
What?
That's not specific, is it?
That is not specific.
That sounds very unspecific, but when you look at how many people there are in the world, that's a pretty tight range they've actually got it in.
That's still
Fair
a
dues.
big gap.
I'm just reading the definition, and what's really weird, because it's about what causes this disease. It's really weird because it says that it's a abnormality passed through the genes, and it's basically when the cells fail to change body chemicals called porphyrins,
Yeah.
which is the substance that gives blood its red color.
Oh.
So it's a failed gene to do with blood, and it makes you look like that. That's a cool. That's such a weird coincidence that the cause of it is connected to blood.
Yeah, it's
That's weird.
oh
So
no,
I'm-
vampire.
I like to try and work out numbers because I'm real sad. If it's 1 in 50,000, that means there's roughly 150,000 people with it in the world.
oh
Wow.
wow. That's crazy.
Wowzers.
They get like, I feel bad for them because you can have it
And-
like acutely. I think I know why it's such a wide range because you can have it acute, but you can have it really, really bad.
Yeah. So if it's the 1 in 500, that's 15,400,000 people in the world that have it.
Oh wow.
So there's a big. I take it back. There's a massive difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
there really is.
Right.
Massive.
Oh my goodness. So maybe like I reckon like because a lot of things in history like certain like myths come from like things that we are medically aware of now. Like I found a while back, I was reading a story. Do you know about changeling babies? How it was a like a medieval myth that sometimes in the night the baby would be swapped out for like this evil like
Oh yeah.
changeling like gremlin weird baby.
They're terrible twos.
Um,
I've been through it twice.
um,
It's a thing.
but basically, people were discussing it, and they were like, well, obviously back in the time, they still would have had the diseases and, you know, kind of mental health issues that we have now. So they were saying it could be like a child who was on like the spectrum. So this changeling baby is probably like a child who had who was on the spectrum and couldn't cope with some things. And obviously, because they didn't know about it, they thought, oh, they've been switched out with like a fairy baby.
Absolutely. Like
Yeah.
there's a thing called delirium, which is actually there's so many causes for it, and one is simply an infection. And I have seen people like get delirium from an infection, and they are just somebody totally else. And I swear
Oh, wow.
they seem possessed. Like, and you start
Wow.
treating them, and then the next day they are a total different person. So
Wow.
I can see, like you say, I can see how now that we know that could happen, but back in the day, you think they were actually
Possessed.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like back in those days, there wouldn't obviously be as many like sensory issues. So, you know, it'd be different to kind of see it how we'd see it today. But it's most likely very probable that's where these myths came from.
Plus, things were easier to like listen to and to believe back in those days as well. We believed it now. It would be like, oh, if it's not on Google, I don't believe it.
Well, it's
But,
because they needed an explanation for something, and they were obviously very spiritual, religious people. So
in
science.
contradiction to that, these kind of folklore, even though they've got the folklore that's specific to different areas, there are still a lot of similarities between
Oh yeah.
certain folklores in one country and in another, and it's weird to think that they've come up with the same, even though it's like presented differently, they've still come up with the same kind of like origins, are the same kind of creatures. Like vampires in one country, they've still got similarities from ones in our country.
Very
Fairies, spirits, those things, zombies,
very off topic.
werewolves.
Dragons is a perfect example.
Mm,
There are things of dragons from like continents that are way apart. Would never have even known that each other existed at the times that things were drawn, and people have drawn exactly the same
mm.
image. So like it's crazy that there's got to have been dragons at some point.
Well, maybe things like that were species that died out so long ago that we just don't remember, and our remembrance of them are these folklores, are these tales, but they're drawn in such an image that is completely over exaggerating what they actually were.
Yeah. It's like, do you remember when we went to Willerton Hall and they were showing us around and they showed us this skull, and it was the skull of like a mammoth, I think, and they said that's where they thought the idea of.
I told you this, Charlie.
I thought they told people.
No, I told you this.
Right, you tell the
might not be
story
true then.
seeing as it's your story.
So Basically, they believe the myth of Cyclops comes from people finding the skulls of elephants and mammoths because the eyes are on the side of the head, so they sink in like an ear, like where an ear would
Oh,
be,
yeah.
and it actually looks like a human skull, but with one big eye, and the actual eye
Yeah.
socket is where the trunk would have connected.
Ah,
Oh.
interesting.
Uh,
Are you trying to look up a mammoth skull now?
Google.
yeah.
Yeah, because
I can imagine it in my.
because it does look like without the tusks, like because the eyeball sockets together, kind of. Well, yeah.
I just typed into Google mammoth skull, and the first thing that comes up is mammoth skull Cyclops.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd definitely look at that. I think it was a Cyclops,
Mm.
especially without the tusks as well.
It definitely makes sense. I'd want to know how they found them though, and like how. No, wait, that's a dumb question. Because humans, well, a descendant of humans were alive while they were mammoths.
Mm-hmm.
What's it doing? Why have I got a green screen?
There you go. Nave's on the old Pinterest.
Especially this bad boy, yeah.
Yeah, that looks like a cyclops.
And like
Yeah.
the size of them as well, huge, which is where you got these 20-foot humanoids with one giant eye.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It does
They
definitely.
would have
make
had
sense.
to only have found the head though.
Yeah.
Because if they found the body as well, they would have thought, oh, it's.
I reckon they still probably wouldn't have put two and two together and made an elephant. You'd have some cyclops horse creature.
Yeah. Because they wouldn't have known about human anatomy until like Renaissance era. Like even like yeah, they didn't really like actually properly start investigating and cutting up bodies until about the Renaissance. That's when the first accurate one was made. Because you couldn't cut open human bodies back in the day because it was sacrilegious.
Frowned upon now for some reason. Like,
Cutting open human bodies.
yeah.
What?
Go and do it and see what happens, Charlie.
Oh, well, okay.
Real frowned upon.
Got there in the end. So
what were you doing? I just wanted to see what it was like inside.
yeah,
Like,
but dead people. I meant dead people.
even the same, Charlie. Go and get a dead person, and you go and cut them open. See what happens. There's still a bit of trouble for it.
If it was the Victorian era, that'd be fine as long as it was in pursuit of science.
Yeah. Could have. You could have just gone. Well, their wife said I could.
Well. Anyway, next topic.
Yeah. Next topic.
So, what are our favourite vampire stories?
Ooh.
Twilight.
Dracula.
Mine's got to be also Dracula.
But you got to give credit to Nosferatu as well, though, I've got to say.
Who's Nosferatu?
Nosferatu was basically a movie, the first vampire movie created. And it stems from a book, and it's the original concept of Bram Stoker before Dracula.
That's cool.
Started the whole thing then.
Wow.
Yeah, and again, if you watch, it's like a really, really old black and white movie. But if you watch Nosferatu,
oh yes,
it's not the humanoid vampire at all. He's bald, pale, pointy ears,
got weird,
massive
more like
fangs,
a creature,
fingernails. Yeah, he's more like a creature. And there's the famous scene of him. You don't see him, you just see his shadow going up the staircase. And it's like, back then, it would have been terrifying, absolutely terrifying to see that.
I've seen clips from this film on like different movie lists. Yeah, it's cool. Ash says Van Helsing.
Yeah.
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 So are we doing favourite? It's not really stories though, is it?
Well, favourite
No.
media
Film.
film story that has a vampire in it.
Nath loves Lost Boys.
That is a good movie. I've
I've
got to
not
admit.
seen it. I need to see
Don't you,
it.
Nath?
Mm-hmm.
Watch it! Oh my god.
I need to see
You
it.
need to see it.
I think I saw Van Helsing like when I was younger, the film. But I need to watch it again because there's no way I remember. Oh shit!
I like Underworld.
Underworld.
Yes. I love
Kate
that
Kate
franchise.
Beckinsale.
And Theo James, don't forget him.
But-
Mm.
Good film series. There should be another one, but they haven't brought it out yet. Anyway.
Yes.
Does anyone remember Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter? Or was it just me?
Rings a bell.
Yeah, so can we pretend that one doesn't exist?
You know what film
Sure.
that I remember that's just popped into my head now? What was it? I think it was Lesbian Vampire Hunters? Lesbian Vampire
Yeah.
Killers. Yeah. That's a film that exists.
That is a film that exists.
Hilarious.
I'd say a really good film that's got a vampire. Overly about vampires, although I suppose he's technically the main protagonist. Monster Squad.
Monster Squad.
I
Have you not
remember
seen
watching.
Monster Squad? So
I remember
basically, Monster Squad got robbed of being a classic because Goonies came out at the same time as it. Like, if it had come out a bit before or a bit after, it would be up there with Goonies in everybody's memory. Came out at the same time as Goonies. That's you're fighting a losing battle straight off the get go there, aren't you, really? But it's basically about these kids who believe in monsters and they start a little club in their little clubhouse called the Monster Squad. And then Dracula comes to life and brings all the monsters to life and they have to send them away.
That's cool.
They're already
Very
prepared
cool.
because of their
It's,
club, yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Ash says
Um,
Little Vampire. I've not heard that one.
That's
Oh my
the one with-
god, yeah.
That's the one with the kid from Like Mike in it. And
Yeah.
The
I
Little
remember that film.
Interview with a Vampire.
Oh my god, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
what about
man,
Buffy the
I'm
Vampire Slayer
slacking.
movie? Can we talk about that?
Is that there's actually a film?
Yeah, I think it was before the TV series or kind of during it, but it's not.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's not her in it. There's a bit in it where one of the vampires gets his arm chopped off, and he's giving it all the big I am, and we vampires can do anything humans can do, but even better. And Buffy just goes, "Oh yeah, clap," and it's like, he's just like,
This is so strange. So as a kid growing up, like I saw like Buffy the Vampire Slayer like as a
Yeah.
kid, the TV series. I
Mhm.
didn't know there was a film with like a completely different actor.
Mhm.
In the Shadows. Oh my gosh, have you seen In the Shadows?
Yes.
No.
Rings
Yes.
a bell?
Johnny Depp.
Taika
With Johnny
Waititi. It's so funny. Oh. I was thinking of What We Do in the Shadows. That is
Oh,
I have seen In the Shadows though with Johnny Depp, but What We Do in the Shadows has got Taika Waititi in it, and it's so funny. Like you need to like check it out. I think there's a new series
Oh.
actually.
I need to make a list
Also-
of films to watch, I guess.
I'm trying to remember
Also,
the name of this
the-
movie with Leslie Nielsen as Dracula.
Let's see. Let me Google it. I've got Google at the
Oh.
fingertips.
also
what is
the
the name?
best vampire movies, Blade, and the Blade trilogy.
Blade!
Even though they get cheesy and crappy towards the end, Wesley Snipes is amazing.
It's
as
called
Blade.
Dead and Loving It.
Yeah,
That's it, Dracula Dead and Loving It. It's so funny.
I've heard
Dead
of
and
Blade.
Loving
It.
Yes.
Leslie Nielsen's an absolute legend.
Wait. Did you say I've heard of Blade?
I've not seen it, but I've heard of it.
Me neither.
What?
Right, okay, bearing in mind, a lot of these films came out
Watch it.
before I was born.
No, they're younger than us, Nate.
Ditto.
Bearing in mind
They're
that's
young.
irrelevant. How have you
They're
not?
younger than us.
How am I meant to know to watch them if I do not know they exist?
It's on my
Sure.
list, okay?
That's bad parenting. That is.
Send me a
Yeah, I
list.
was going to say my dad made me watch a lot of stuff, especially Blade, anything Marvel. It's why I love Marvel today.
Oh
But
yeah, like I grew up watching Marvel, but like when
Me
the
too.
cinematic universe came out.
Oh my god, that's so upsetting that you grew up watching that. I was growing up when that existed.
Oh dear, I don't even know when the first one came out. Do you want to? I'm gonna make you feel old.
Stop it. Do you want to
I'm
listen that made me feel real old?
Nosferatu came out in 1922, by the way.
I was
just to
8
say.
years old when
Wow.
Iron Man came out.
Do you want to know something
Aw,
that
little Charlie.
completely off topic, but something that made me feel really old? That my sister shared a post saying Big Cook, Little Cook from CBeebies is 16 years old.
What?
What?
Yeah.
I watched Big Cook,
Whoa.
Little Cook.
Jesus Christ, 16.
First episode was 16 years ago.
Jesus Christ, that makes me feel old.
Whenever you mention Big Cook, Little Cook, all I can think of is the "Be careful, Ben," and then he gets white liquid on his face. I love Vine. Oh my days,
Anyway.
that was a good show. I enjoyed the show.
It was.
Anyway.
Neither of them were vampires.
Anyway, where were we?
No, neither of them were vampires in Big Cook, Little Cook.
Although I don't think they ever used garlic, so they could have been.
Oh,
New conspiracy
Good point.
theory. Big Cook,
I-
Little Cook vampires.
I've distressed Saz with that age fact. Oh dear. So seeing as it's 9 o'clock, to round off this fantastic podcast that's got a little off topic at some points, who would win in a fight? A killer clown or a vampire?
I hate to say it, but I think it's going to be a vampire.
Vampires, hands down. Sorry.
Yeah, they're just.
Because the vampire can just hypnotise the clown to use the knife to stab himself in the chest. Done.
I think it's
Doesn't even
vampire.
need to do that.
Yeah, clowns are too. They just want to brawl, you know. They just want to kill
And
someone.
then
But
the vampire can just be like, "You will stay where you
Sneak.
are."
yeah,
The
Depends.
quick. He's clever. He's gonna.
Depends. If it's a normal killer clown, then yes, the vampire every time. If it's a clown from Killer Clowns in Space, then the clown's gonna win.
Or if
just
it's
because.
a vampire dressed as a clown.
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
yeah.
Vampire
Now we're
killer
getting into
clown.
it.
What, fighting
Stranger.
itself?
Mm.
Yeah, but it's just as a
If it was-
clown, so it's the
If
clown.
it was Twilight, the clown would win.
Yeah,
Any
I
of
think
a
it
vampire.
fully depends on what we're talking, because again,
Mm.
technically, it isn't really a clown, but that's what the form he takes
That's
on.
the form he took.
But if it was Pennywise, I think Pennywise
Yeah,
would absolutely
absolutely.
shaft most
Yeah, you're right.
vampires.
Yeah.
I think he'd do over a vampire in about 4 seconds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Although Pennywise did get screwed over by some
kids.
Kids.
But vampires aren't able to feel fear.
Oh,
They can't feel anything.
I
So-
reckon I'm the same position as Jake. If it's Killer Clowns from Outer Space, just from watching the trailer, I reckon.
Killer clowns,
it's
they're
them.
gonna win.
But if it's just normal clowns, then it's a vampire.
Yeah, if it's
And if
normal
it-
clowns versus 30 Days a Night vampires, the clowns have got no chance. Sorry.
You say
Any vampire.
vampires got done over by blooming Corey Feldman in Lost Boys. Right?
Yeah,
He-
but that's Corey Feldman.
just the guy with a bandana. And he drowned one of them in holy.
Nathan,
That would
you
be
want to
cool.
be him, mate.
Oh mate,
Saz
But
says
it
no
can be
Twilight
good.
vampires skin too hard, just stab.
Is it?
Skin is too hot.
Well,
Yeah.
it's like, what's it like crystallized or whatever it is?
Oh, I don't
Tough.
remember.
And they are regenerative, aren't they?
Oh,
they're rubbish.
Yes, in most
So you could
things they're
stab
regenerative.
them in the arm, and it would just be like,
Circuit du Freak.
Fine.
How did we not mention Circuit du Freak?
Because I don't know what you're on about. I don't even
No,
know
neither
the
do
word you said.
Sorry.
Darren Chan, the book series Circuit du Freak, and there was also a really crappy movie with John C. Reilly, and John C.
Damn.
Reilly was the best part of it. Circuit du Freak was a series that was about vampires, and this dude went to this circus, Circuit du Freak, and he seen one of the vampires there that he recognised from this book he had ages and ages and ages ago, and then he went backstage. His friend who was obsessed was refused to become the vampire assistant. But he became the vampire's assistant because he stole the spider because he was obsessed with it.
I'm
And
looking.
the whole
the
That film
image,
wasn't actually that
and his
bad.
face looks photoshopped onto
Who?
another person's body. Darren's body.
Darren Shan.
He looks like his face has been photoshopped onto his
But
body.
He
That's so
wrote a lot
shady.
of he wrote a lot of horror stories and different ones, and one of his book series was the Vampire's Assistant series, and the first book was Cirque du Freak. I read that as it was one of the first books I properly read through, one of the first series I got into, and it was by far my favourite, and that made up most of my childhood reading. Cirque du Freak, Vampire's Assistant, Vampire Mountain, all of those, and they are awesome vampires in the books. In the movies, not so much. Movie, because it was terrible, never got a sequel. But in
They
the
tried
book
to,
series, they're
didn't they?
brilliant,
That's
and
awesome.
the
Interesting.
vampires are different.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, have we got everyone's answer? Nath, have you given an answer?
Just because I like being different, I'm going to go with the clowns. I think
Okay.
they know how to utilize random tools. I'll say,
True.
yeah, I reckon.
Fair point.
Fair enough. Well, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. We have been Picking Brains, the podcast from Zombie Infection. This is our crew, and if you'd like to check out more of us, go to www.zombieinfection.co.uk and check out our social media channels below. They're right below with our website and all of our social medias.
Do it.
We stream on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday. Wednesday is podcast day, Tuesday with Ben,
Woo.
and Sunday multiplayer games day. So hopefully see you next time. Remember to follow and check us out. Bye-bye.
Bye.